Hey guys, Pierluigi here, and in this video I'm going to show how to create a website in no time using and leveraging a UX kit. Now for this specific video we're going to use the Dot, which is a UX kit from LX Graphics. You can download a free sample of this premium kit, but you can also use whatever UX kit that you prefer, since the same base concepts are going to apply regardless of the kit that you use. Now these techniques can be really useful, especially if you're kickstarting a new project for a client, and especially if you're freelancing, where each and every minute that you can save is going to translate in more profitability and efficiency in your business. So without further ado, let's jump into this Figma tutorial. Alright, we're now back in Figma, and as you can see I have opened this document which is going to contain this wireframe kit, the Dot, which we're going to leverage in order to create this website in a fast way. So the very first thing that I'm going to check, and by the way, this is my workflow whenever I use UI kits or UX kits, I basically create the new designs within the same file. I don't really like to create two different files, so that's just for the conveniency. And I'm going to simply select one element. I'm going to check the width right away. So in this case it's 1440, and that's the width that we're going to use for the frame. So 1440, and we're good to go. So we're going to make the height bigger, and we're going to also double click on the name and rename it to 1. And let's start adding some elements from this kit in order to create our website. So the very first element which we need is some sort of header. So I'm going to zoom out on Figma, and as you can see, we can see the top names, and yeah, there we go. We have our headers, and we have a few different headers that we can choose. And this is the beauty of using a UX kit, because essentially you can communicate the same concept in different ways, and you already have some ideas at your disposal, which you can then completely tweak, adapt and change based on your specific needs. So in this case, I really liked the very first one right here, and that's the one which we're going to leverage. So there's a few ways we can do this. I'm actually going to just select all of the content inside, including the background, go back to our website and paste it in. Now, once we're here, I want to set the tone for the entire app when it comes to the visual design. So I'm going to start editing and modifying this section. So we're going to start with the background, and for the background I'm going to use this Figma plugin, which is the Unsplash plugin, and I'm essentially going to have a look around and find some interesting photos which could potentially work well with our scopes. So this one is looking pretty interesting. Let's go with something around maybe these lines. And as you can see, we're going to have, let's bring this one down, and we also have a rectangle on top. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this rectangle, and we're going to duplicate it. We're going to bring it right below, but also above the image, since I still wanted to have part of this rectangle showing, and I'm going to decrease the opacity. So as you can see, we have this nice effect, and we can probably maybe tone it down just a little bit. I'm going to remove this rectangle on the top, and over here, for some reason, I'm not really in love with these buttons, so I'm going to remove them. Also going to change the headline to and for this H1, I'm going to want to make it just a little bit bigger. So what I'm gonna do is I'm essentially going to unlink this one specifically, and I'm going to make it just a bit bigger in order to make it stand out a little bit more. Now I'm curious to see if there are any elements which I can leverage for the actual buttons. So I'm going to go over here, and as you can see, we have a few different buttons, and maybe in this case we're going to simply copy 2 of them. Let's bring them over here. Oops. And let's go ahead and let's center these elements. All right, so the very first button is going to be a call to action to get started, and we're actually going to make this one bigger so that it's going to fit. And the second one is going to be a call to action to learn more. All right, so far so good. Now, one thing that I definitely want to change over here is the color. So I'm going to probably try color around these lines in order to make it stand out a little bit more. And I'm probably going to just tweak the color a bit since I want to go with something just a little bit lighter. And I think that will do the job. So in this case, we're almost using complementary colors in order to make the call to action really stand out in this composition. So let's go ahead and let's make it just a little bit more light. Yeah, that will do. All right, so far so good. And at this point, we're probably going to change the header section a little bit more. But before we do that, I'm actually going to go ahead and create some further sections, and that's going to essentially help us to continue with the actual project. So as you can see, we have a bunch of elements, and we want to think about what our client needs in this specific case. So right after the header, I would like to show some features about this company and maybe some social proof. So I'm actually remembering the fact that there is some logos below. So I'm probably going to add those. I think they were here. Yeah, there we go. So I can potentially show the client which I'm working with that hey, maybe right after this section we could potentially have a element which suggests the social proof. So if they have any specific logos or testimonials or things of that nature, that's going to be helpful for them essentially. So I think let's bring it inside the actual artboard so we don't see the drop shadows on the side. And let's make this a little bit smaller. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to actually change the logo colors to something which is more neutral, so something around these lines, since these are just ideas. I don't really want to have perhaps the client focus on them too much, and I just like the overall feeling when it comes to the colors of these logos like that. All right, so far so good. Let's make them a little bit higher, and there we go. All right, so let's move on and let's add some sort of feature sections. So we're gonna go over here. We have a bunch of ideas. These are call to actions, galleries, we have testimonials. All right, we'll keep all of these elements in mind as we're going to work through this. And in this case, I wanted to have some sort of element which suggests the 3 main features. So this is probably going to do the job, but actually I'm looking for something a little bit more minimal, maybe something around these lines. Or let me just scroll down real quick and see if there's anything that tickles our imagination. And probably like the one with the icons as well. So yeah, as you can see, there's like so many good options that we could potentially go with that sometimes it's hard to choose. yeah, made a decision on this, and we're going with these ones over here. So I'm going to remove the background, and what I'm gonna do, I'm also going to remove these elements. So let's go also over here. Let's change it, the color fill. Let's make this one an outline stroke. Let's see which one could actually, or maybe we can go with something different. Actually, let's simply go on the stroke. Probably it was my bad on this one, so let's just remove this. Let's make the stroke 1.5, and let's use Option Command plus C and Option Command plus V in order to copy the style between these two elements. And I'm probably going to use the black version over here. All right, so far so good. Now at this point we're going to add some custom icons, which we're going to leverage from Nucleo icons. So let's go over here, and we're going to go with the color version. So I'm just going to drag and drop some of these directly inside of the canvas, and let's try and find some icons which could potentially work well in this specific context. So I'm going to scroll down, have a look. Maybe this one is looking pretty interesting, and I'm probably going to go ahead and just unframe them, and that is going to essentially do the trick. So let's center them vertically. Let's also increase the size of this one just a little bit, and I think this one's looking pretty well so far. So for some reason I want to kind of like center it a little bit more on the right, not too much though. And yeah, that will probably do. So we kind of want to align it together with the logos, just try and see if the composition overall is working well. And in order to do that in the most precise way, let's actually go ahead and use some columns. So we're going to make 12 columns. Let's add more margin. We're actually going to make them all the way here, and let's make the columns lighter, and there we go. As you can see, we have some room for improvement, and they don't necessarily need to be like super strict, but we want to kind of get the basic idea out there, especially for the developer, since he's going to implement these afterwards. So we want to make them we want to make the process as easy as we can for them. All right, so far so good. And probably going to duplicate this and also add a headline which talks about this section, like what's this section all about. So let's go ahead over here. I'm just going to copy this element right here, and here we go. All right. Our experience, and let's make this one span throughout this width. Let's probably try and make this smaller. So whenever you're working with a new UI kit, you kind of have to figure out initially the different text styles and also the symbols. Usually it's all in a page around like that or in the UI elements. So take some time to like go through it, figure out how it's actually set it up. So in this case, we have some general colors and typography options, which we can easily change directly from here. So as you can see, we have all sorts of different colors that we can update. Click on the update button and we're good to go. Same is true for the logo type. So for example, if we go over here and we remove this and we add a letter such as LD, and let's make this one over here. Let's add the black. You can see that if we go back in the actual kit, let's go in a place where we can find the logo. It's going to be changed for some reason. In this case, I think I messed something up, or probably I'm not visualizing the correct one, but essentially, yeah, there we go. So you can see that it's automatically updated. The same is going to be true for both the colors and the typography, so you can do all these changes really fast. I'm not going to change these elements for the time being, since the base structure, I really like it of this kit, and not really looking forward to change it, but that's definitely something to keep in mind, so that you can make big changes in a short amount of time, since time is money and we want to be super efficient. All right, so far so good. Now let's add some other icons over here. So Nucleo, and what we want to do is to find some other type of icons really. So we're going to add this blockchain icon, and we're also going to add this one right here. So let's unframe them, and let's bring it up here. And let's go over here and let's make this one just a bit bigger. All right, so far so good. Now we're going to need another section. Let's also change these to learn more. Let's also change this one here, so that it's going to be more clear overall. And there we go. All right, so far so good. So the very next section, which we're going to add in this landing page, is going to be some sort of maybe some testimonials or something around those lines. So these all look pretty interesting. And what we're gonna do is we're going to go scroll a little bit more on the left, and this one's looking good. So we're probably going to grab this element, bring it over here, and we're probably going to change the color to this. And let's also get rid of this icon. And what we're gonna do is we're actually going to add a oval, in which we're going to use the Unsplash plugin in order to find some portrait images. So let's go ahead over here, and for some reason this one is not looking. Oh, okay, see what happened over here. It wasn't inside the frame, so you always want to double check on things like that, since it does happen, and it's definitely helpful. So let's crop this. All right, so far so good. Maybe we don't. Well, I'm actually wondering if it's worth just making this section white. So actually, let's just keep it like this for the time being, and then we're going to resume in just a moment. So let's create also a call to action, or let's add a call to action at the very bottom, since there's really isn't a point in making a website if we don't really have a call to action. So we're going to go with something around these lines, where the call to action contains also some an email element, so we can essentially go ahead and get their emails right away. Join our team. And let's maybe just bring this one over here, span it all the way here. Let's bring the button right here. We're going to remove this element. We're going to bring the end below. All right, so far so good. Let's bring this one down. And yeah, that's looking pretty good so far. Now let's add a footer element, which we're still going to find directly on this page. And the footers are right here. All right, so this, as you can see, like we have so many options, and like trying all of these options without a UX kit, it's going to take so much time. So this is really cool because we can kind of like pick and choose and swap different elements fast. And that's one of the reasons why I really like working with UX kits whenever I kickstart a new project, and especially when I'm in the wireframing stage and I need to figure out the basic details with the client, and we have to see if we're in this on the same page. It just takes a lot of initial work, of design work out of the way, and the core focus is on the communication and having a strong base structure. So yeah, there we go. All right, so I think we got this. So you definitely saw how we can create essentially great looking pages in just a fraction of the time, really. And you can also create, for example, a duplicate of this, and then just pick and choose different elements and create variations, which you can potentially show to your client in a very fast and efficient way. So for example, here we're going to keep the logos, but maybe like this feature section can be explained in a different way. So you can go over here and grab one of these other elements in order to really make sure that you have different concepts and different ideas. And of course, you're going to need to change the text and all those informations, but you're seeing the general point in this. So the main focus is going to be on the content, and essentially this structure and using a UX kit is going to enable you to kickstart a project fast. Now, that being said, all the UX work is still going to be there. It's not going to do the work for you in that regard, for sure. And you don't, and you also want to personalize this content afterwards, because you cannot just copy and paste the templates and prefer yourself as a designer, because that's not what we do. But the main idea is just leverage time, since time will always have a limited amount, especially if you're a freelancer. I've been freelancing for many years, and I realized that time was currency. So definitely something to keep in mind. And hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was helpful. If you liked it, please leave a like, and then and also subscribe to my channel. I have over 400 videos all for free on UI, UX, and design topics in general. So feel free to check it out, and I'll see you in the next video.